Hello, everyone, and welcome to another very special episode. She Scores Bangers is teaming up with the Northern Super League over the next few weeks to bring you exclusive interviews with players and others that are gearing up for their inaugural season, set to kick off on April 16th. The NSL, founded by former Canada International Diana Matheson, is Canada's first ever professional women's soccer league, with 6 clubs based in Halifax, Calgary, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. You can catch the action on CBC, TSN, and other online streaming platforms. Today's guest holds one of the most prestigious international careers in the game. With over 200 appearances for the Danish women's national team, she captained her side in the 2007 Women's World Cup and featured in multiple other Women's Euros. Her club football is just as impressive, with experiences ranging in England, Australia, Sweden, and Norway before taking up an assistant coaching role with the Danish women's national team. Joining the NSL from football in the Danish league, she lands in the capital as the head coach of Ottawa Rapid. It's none other than Katrine Pederson. Katrine, it's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, and thanks for having me.
Of course. How is Ottawa treating since you've been just moving to the capital?
Well, Ottawa's been good. It's cold here, but we've had very great days with the blue sky, sun. The canal is frozen. People are out skating. It's a beautiful city, but I can't say that I've been a lot around. We've got things to do to
Mm-hmm.
make everything ready for when the players join us next month.
It's all starting very, very quickly. It's like there's not much time to settle in because there's about a million other things that are happening all at the same time. But I kind of wanted to hear a little bit about how this opportunity materialized and how it all came to life.
Yeah, well, I started talking to the club in the summer. I got a call from the technical director, Christina Kiss, and she said, "Well, we are Diane Matheson and Tom Gilbert. They've been working on this for a long time, and now it's going to get up and running." And so that was when the talks started, and yeah, I was asked if I was interested, or if not, if I had network as well, and kind of the talk kept going on for quite a few months, and to be honest, it was I was very humble, and it was a privilege to be asked, but it was also far away. I have a family, we have a house, so there was a lot to take into consideration.
Mm.
But the more I spoke to the club, the more I spoke to Christina and the others in the leadership, the more I actually felt like, well, the coach that they want, the way they describe it, it kind of looks like my profile, and in that way, I think our values aligned and ambitions and everything that we talked about in those months.
Hmm.
So I got more and more keen on the job, and they had trust in me.
Tell me
Yeah,
a little. Tell me a little bit about that leadership group and kind of the values that we're telling you. What did you see in that stood out to you and kind of got you more on board to the
yeah.
project?
I think first of all, it felt we had a very good connection. Um, and sometimes it's hard when you sit there and you have the virtual meetings, but I had a good connection with them when they told about the project. It sounded both professional, but they've been both professional and including. And it seems like they have trust now that I've arrived. Uh, Everyone here has trust in each other, and in that way, we kind of have an environment where everyone is helping each other in our different areas.
Mm.
We have creative people, we have football people, and just the tone around the offices here that we are also building is really good. And also the fact that they were willing to. We had meetings both with my partner. I have a partner and kids, and how could this be a move that we could feel safe and secure about? We had more than one week meeting, and they've been very helpful to us as a family.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's been a it was a long run, but yeah, but in that way, I think we aligned well.
Mhm. What are some questions that you sort of had about this new project? Because I think, starting talks in the summer, there was a lot of unknowns. And for you, obviously making this big of a jump, you probably had a lot of questions and maybe some doubts about what is it that I'm jumping into. How do you feel they kind of answered some of the doubts that you had and probably reassured you?
Yeah, well, the fact that yeah, I've been in obviously I've been in football for a long time. I've been in top football in like 30 years, and we've taken small steps along the way. But at the moment, women's football is growing so fast, both in Europe and here. But this was such a major step. Uh, so the quality and the professionalism around the league, the business case behind it, that was kind of I don't wouldn't say that it persuaded me, but it felt like such a good opportunity as well for me, even though there are a lot of unknowns. And that's also what is it's unknown. What players can we attract? How is the first season going to be? What about the first games? How are the regulations? Like I'm from Denmark. We have an FA who's in control of all the leagues, and everything is yeah is up and running, and this is all new. But I also think that it's that process, to have been in that process. It's made it so real and so good to be around the people that has been building it.
Mhm.
So being in this process has been a great value this first time.
You mentioned Christina. Obviously, she has been a huge part in kind of the building of Rapid FC so far. But you guys played together over 20 years ago.
Mm.
Does that feel like a full circle moment where now you're reuniting with a former teammate, but now on a completely different sort of project?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course it does. Like, it's right. We played in the north of Norway together in the beginning of this century. It sounds like we sound very old when I say that, but I think that is how women's football is. It's probably how men's football is as well. This opportunity was good for me, and of course it's. I know Christina from 1 year, haven't played with her 1 year, and then we
Mm.
have barely had contact. So and then knowing what she like what ambitions that she has for football and what she's done in between when I knew her back then, it's it's a privilege to come here and work with her as well. But also in women's football, when I've done things with UEFA and in between my other jobs, but I meet former opponents, now colleagues, and in that way, when we have more women in football, it's uh, it's good that we're here to help each other. We're here to compete against each other as well. But it feels good that we are on that way where more and more female leaders and coaches are attracted to the game, and it's possible for us to work on a high level.
I think it's beautiful how these connections come together. And like you mentioned, I think we'll continue to see them more and more now. And I think with the putting the rosters across the teams, we're seeing some teammates reconnect from college days and now maybe teammates going up against each other. But I also wanted to ask you a little bit of, I think there's a lot of questions on kind of how does a coach put a roster together? And tell me about some of the different obstacles putting something from scratch, because I think
Yeah,
very rarely do we get an insight to that.
yeah. Well, I can say that it's not anything like anything else I've done. Like normally you would have a core of a team, and maybe you switch or players that transferred, you'll get 8 new players. But without having a core, we had to start somewhere, and we started by by signing local players, Canadian players. As you probably know, we can have an amount of 8 international players, and the rest has to be Canadian. And all the other teams also have to have the same. So it was about looking at the Canadian players as well, getting to know them well, because my network is more in Europe. Uh, but just also get in contact both with players and agents, and trying to navigate and find out what level can we attract? From what level can we attract players?
Mm.
And that's been we've seen we can attract top players. Like we've got a top player, an Olympian gold medalist in Desiree Scott, and of course the Euros in Europe kind of hold some players back from coming. It's a big move to move across the Atlantic half a year before the Euros. So if they're national team players, some of them are a bit think it's a bit risky.
Mm.
So it's been a journey. It's been a lot of contact with players and agents, and that process has been so exciting, but also hard. But those are some of the obstacles. Not knowing, we can't say as well. We're still guessing. How is the league going to be? What kind of football are we going to play?
Mm.
Yeah.
Does time difference and having to manage your own schedules make sleep tougher?
Yeah, I had a period where I was in Denmark working with the rest of the team here. That made me when Christina said sent her kid to school. My kids were coming home from school, so in that way, I had a kind of a different schedule.
Well, it's good you're in Ottawa now because now it feels a little
Yeah,
easier or better to manage.
yeah.
You brought up the idea of what kind of football are we going to play. Can you tell us a little bit about the vision of what we might see from Rapid on the field? Not maybe just the first season, but kind of across because it's going to be a little bit of a process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when I said what kind of football is going to be played in the league, that's what we don't really know. We know as Europeans, we think the North American football is more transition minded. It's more direct. It's more power, and we think of ourselves as a little bit different in our style of play. But what you would see when you watch the Rapids is a team that will dominate on the ball, and a team that will play with courage and intensity and creativity. That's what we want to. But we also know we have to adapt. We have to be proactive. We have to adapt, but focus on controlling the ball, creating chances, and expressing the players expressing themselves both individually and as a strong collective. That's my ambition.
I think that's a very exciting pitch. We haven't seen much of the football, obviously, any of it yet, but I think any fan listening to that would be pretty excited. I also wanted to ask you a little bit about just the whole idea of being part of history. You were obviously involved in professional women's football for over 20 years as a player, and then you went into the coaching, and so you've kind of seen the game progress from almost just getting things going after some of the bans across different European countries to now getting as big as it is. How does it feel to be part of this piece of a foundational historical moment in professional soccer in Canada, but I think in the game in general?
Well, I feel privileged and humble to be part of this journey, part of this movement. Women's football has been on a journey, and it's been a movement more than a business and industry. It is turning into a bigger industry as well. I hope for the football and for women's football that we keep some of the values that the whole movement has been built on, and I'm sure we do because that's what I feel here in Canada. But I just say again, I'm humbled to be here, but being here and knowing that the Canadian national team has inspired players, boys and girls, through the national team, through winning medals at Olympics, but now boys and girls being able to come to the city's team, come here in Ottawa to watch us play. It's having role models that are real and not just on TV and not just playing against other countries or in other countries. Now they're here, and that's obviously when I was a kid, I knew men's football players. When I was first called up for the national team, I'd never seen the national team play. So in that way, building a brand for the community, for all the girls and boys that play football. Like everyone can dream about being that player in that city's team.
Yeah.
So that's great.
During your professional career, you became a role model as a player, and I think now you are becoming a role model as a head coach. In the league, out of the 6 teams, you're one of the 3 female head coaches. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of growing the number of female coaches in the game and seeing that visibility now more and more often, where it's a female on the sidelines, kind of giving out these instructions to the players.
Well, I think it's important for as a female coach as well. It's good to be here in Canada, where now I can see that the leadership and the coaches also around the other teams, there are a mix or there are more female, and it's just a different world because what we're used to is being one among a lot of men and suits,
Mhm.
and in that way. It feels good because that's the way we have to go. There's so much potential in both female players, but also female coaches that hasn't been able to thrive in the environment. Um, we still want to have we still want to educate more female coaches so that when there is a job, there would be men and a lot of men being having the education and having the experience to take on a job. But more and more women are under education and will get experience, and I think that's that's the best that could happen for women's football and for football in general. Because we know that the diversity, you see that in all the modern countries. Like if you have a board of both young and old members, both men and women, we know that diversity gives something to the quality and to the performance, and that's what we also want to see here. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that we see a lot of female
You
coaches.
you come in with a wealth of experience again as a player and as a coach. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, the challenges or some of the good learning lessons you were able to hone in being an assistant coach for Denmark for quite some time with the national side.
Well, being the coach at a national team is different than being on a club team. But the lessons that I've learned, I actually have to jump back to when I was a player, because
Mm.
as a player I transitioned into being a coach, and that transition was one of the best things I've ever done. Being a coach on the side, I was a coach in the Norwegian uh, elite school, coaching some of the best Norwegians. Like you will know some of them, Karoline Graham Hansen and Emilie Hovey,
Mm.
but coaching them and playing myself, I became a better player by coaching. I became a better coach by playing, and
Mm.
taking that on as well. Being the assistant coach with different coaches, you learn something from each coach that you're with, uh, both on the structure side, on the football side, on the coaching side. So bringing all that together and forming myself as a coach, taking education, but always having myself as I can't change. I don't want to change the person that I am. I can't because then uh, I won't be me, and I won't be good enough. Um, so so I think all that uh, all that experience has kind of uh, like formed me as a coach, and that's what I bring also here when we are starting here from scratch, uh, bringing in staff, finding out what kind of responsibilities can we share, and in that way trying to be open and inclusive, and make an environment where we trust each other and are able to to kind of grow from there.
How do you describe yourself as a coach?
Well, I I think I'm a coach who likes to build an environment where the players can take ownership of themselves, of their responsibilities, and of their game. Um, when they understand and contribute in that way, it makes their decisions on the pitch better. It makes them perform better, and in that way, I think the environment is very important. Of course, the football side of it, the tactics and everything, that's important. But if I don't have the players, and if they don't listen to each other, if they don't enjoy being together on the pitch, it doesn't matter about the tactics. So knowing football well, knowing people well, but being able to create a high performance environment where players thrive together, and in building relationships, and in doing whatever they can to win the games, win the duels, win the ball back for each other. That's what I kind of focus on.
The players are going to enjoy playing together. The fans are going to enjoy watching the players play together. A final question for you here. Do you have a favorite memory playing against Canada? Because I think when the appointment happened, there was a lot of digging of how many minutes did you get to play against Canada? And I don't know if we have a solid number from that, because women's soccer is a little bit muddy when it comes to the numbers from the early 2000s. So is there a favorite fixture you had to play against Canada, or you never actually came up against them?
I did play, I think I played 3 games against them.
Yeah.
I did a bit of digging myself, but you're right. It's hard to find. I could find our lineup. I could, and then I couldn't find the Canadian. I could in a few places, but I actually we had a long period where we didn't play Canada. We've been at some of the same World Cups, but didn't run into each other. I can't say that I have a favorite because we played a game. I think I captained the game. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. I played the game. We were up 3-0. We were on a winning. We thought we were going to win. We didn't win. We lost 4-3. It was back in Denmark. We played in Copenhagen.
Do you remember who the goal scorers were by any chance, or it's just too far of a memory?
If I could say Sinclair, that wouldn't be far off, would it? But I can't remember. I remember that Christina Kiss didn't play that game. I was in, and we just talked about the other day, but another one I played with in Norway was Randy Hermes. I remember she played, and Christine Sinclair must have played, and she probably also scored.
It's always a safe bet that Christine Sinclair probably scored.
It was my best try.
She probably, I mean, hopefully now she's obviously a co-owner with the Vancouver Rise, so hopefully she'll be here watching some of the games, Ottawa, Vancouver. I think we'll get to see a lot of Sinky. Katrine, I really appreciate you joining me today, and we look forward to seeing the Rapid kick it off very, very soon.
Thank you for having me. It was fun and good to talk to you.